The billionaire's son failed every test. Teachers gave up on him. Even his own father called him a failure. Until a janitor looked at him and said 5 simple words. Words that changed his life forever. Ethan Miller had everything people prayed for. Money, comfort, a famous last name, and doors that opened without asking questions. In New York, his name carried weight. Teachers knew it, students knew it, even people who had never met him knew it. But inside Ethan, there was nothing calm or strong, only noise and confusion. Every morning, Ethan woke up in a large, quiet house. Too quiet for a house that big. The walls were clean, the floors shiny, the air cold. He ate breakfast alone most days. His father, Robert Miller, left early, always in a hurry, always on the phone. They rarely spoke more than a few words. At school, Ethan walked through the halls like he owned them. His clothes were expensive. His shoes were always new. Some students stared because they wanted his life. Others stared because they hated it. Ethan noticed none of them. Or maybe he noticed all of them and pretended not to care. In class, he sat at the back. He never raised his hand. When teachers asked questions, he leaned back and looked away. When tests came back, he barely looked at the paper. Red marks did not scare him. Low scores did not shock him. He had learned early that his name could fix things his mind could not. Teachers whispered about him in staff rooms. Some said he was lazy. Some said he was lost. None of them pushed him too hard. No one wanted trouble. No one wanted a call from his father. Ethan knew this. He felt it. And instead of feeling safe, it made him feel small. One afternoon, the school counselor called him into her office. She spoke slowly, carefully, like every word could break something. "Ethan, your grades are very bad," she said. Ethan shrugged and looked at the wall. "You are failing almost every class," she continued. "So," Ethan said quietly. She sighed. "This is serious." Ethan leaned forward and smiled without joy. "My dad could buy this school if he wanted," he said. "Grades won't stop that." The counselor said nothing. She wrote something on a paper and let him leave. The words spread fast. Students repeated them in hallways. Some laughed. Some shook their heads. Ethan pretended it was funny, but later that night, when he lay in his bed staring at the ceiling, the words came back to him. Not proud words, empty ones. At home, things were worse. Robert Miller did not yell much. His anger was cold, sharp, quiet. One night, he stood in the living room holding his phone, his face tight. "The school called again," Robert said. Ethan said nothing. "You are a problem," Robert continued. "If you worked for me, I would fire you." Ethan crossed his arms. "Good thing I don't work for you." Robert stepped closer. "The world does not care who your father is," he said. "If you become nothing, I will not protect you." That silence stayed in the room long after Robert walked away. The next week, everything changed. Ethan woke up to find his credit cards stopped. His car was gone. His phone showed warning messages. His father had cut him off. For the first time, Ethan had to take the school bus. He sat at the back, his bag on his lap, his head down. No one talked to him. No one smiled. He felt exposed, like something had been taken from him that he did not know how to live without. That morning, as he entered the school through a side door, he noticed her. She was mopping the floor near the wall. An older black woman, her hair tied back, her face calm. Her uniform was plain. Her movements were slow and steady. Ethan walked past her without looking. To him, she was just part of the building. Days passed. Tests came back. The scores were worse than before. One paper showed numbers so low he laughed, then stopped laughing when no one else did. Teachers started to look at him differently. Not scared, tired. One morning, after another bad test, Ethan walked through the hallway early, before most students arrived. The halls were quiet. His shoes made soft sounds on the floor. That was when he heard a voice. "The only true wisdom," the voice said, "is knowing you know nothing." Ethan stopped walking. He turned and saw the janitor again. She was cleaning near the lockers, her eyes on the floor. "What did you say?" Ethan asked. She looked up slowly. Her eyes were steady. "Nothing you are ready to hear," she said. Ethan laughed, short and sharp. "You think you know something about me." She did not answer. She went back to her work. Ethan walked away, but the words followed him. They stayed in his head during class. They stayed during lunch. They stayed when he got home. That night, he failed another test. The counselor called him in again. This time, her voice was not soft. "You are at the bottom of your class," she said. "This is not about behavior anymore. You are failing." "I'll get a tutor," Ethan said. "You already had 3, she replied. They quit. That was the first time Ethan felt fear. Real fear. After the meeting, he left through the back exit to avoid people. Near the cafeteria, he saw her again. She was cleaning a spill. She looked up and smiled politely. "You said something before," Ethan said, "about wisdom." She stood straight. "You remembered." "Yeah," he said. "It stuck." She studied him for a moment. "Strange," she said, "that a boy with everything cannot pass a simple test." The words hit harder than he expected. "You were a teacher," Ethan said slowly. She did not answer right away. Then she nodded. "Once." Ethan swallowed. "Can you help me?" he asked. "Please." She looked at him for a long moment. "One rule," she said. "You leave your name and your pride at the door." Ethan nodded. "I will." She handed him a small notebook. "Come early tomorrow," she said. "Before class." Ethan took the notebook. It felt heavier than paper. That night, he sat on his bed holding it. The house was quiet. His father did not speak to him. The city outside was loud, alive, moving forward without him. For the first time, Ethan did not know what would happen next. And for the first time, he cared. Ethan did not sleep well that night. He turned in his bed again and again, holding the small notebook the woman had given him. It was plain, thin, nothing special, but it felt important. He kept thinking about her words. "Leave your name and your pride at the door." He did not know how to do that. His name had always been everything. Before sunrise, Ethan left the house quietly. The city was still half asleep. The air felt cold on his face. He walked instead of taking a ride, his hands deep in his pockets. Each step felt heavy, like he was walking toward something unknown. The school building looked different that early. No noise, no students, no teachers, just long halls and quiet walls. He entered through the back door, just like she said. She was already there. She was cleaning the floor near the east wing, moving slow, steady, like she had all the time in the world. A small radio played softly beside her. She looked up when she saw him. "You came," she said. "I said I would," Ethan replied. She nodded. "Sit." He sat on the cold floor near the wall. It felt strange. He had never sat on the floor at school before. "My name is Grace Thompson," she said. "If you are going to learn from me, you will use my name." "I'm Ethan," he said, then stopped himself. "Just Ethan." Grace gave a small smile. "Good." She asked him to open the notebook. "What did you learn yesterday?" she asked. "I failed," Ethan said. "That is not learning," she replied. "That is an event. What did you feel?" Ethan stayed quiet. "I don't know," he said finally. "Angry, empty." "Write that," Grace said. He looked at her. "That's it." "That's the start," she answered. They did not talk much that morning. Grace asked questions, simple ones, but they were hard to answer. "Why did you stop trying? When did you decide you were done? What are you afraid of?" Ethan wrote slowly. His hand hurt. His mind felt tired. When the bell rang, Grace stood up. "We meet again after school," she said. "Every day?" Ethan asked. "Every day," she replied. Classes felt different that day. Ethan could not focus. His mind kept going back to the notebook. When a teacher called his name, he answered without thinking. The room went quiet. People turned and looked at him. He did not know why he spoke. He only knew he did not want to be silent anymore. After school, He came back. Grace was waiting. This became their routine. Every morning before class, Ethan met Grace. Every evening after school, he stayed. She did not teach him like teachers before. There were no notes on the board, no long talks. She asked him to read slowly, one page at a time. She asked him what the words meant to him, not what they meant on paper. At first, Ethan hated it. "This is stupid," he said one evening. "This won't help my grades." Grace looked at him calmly. "Grades follow understanding," she said, "not the other way around." He wanted to argue, but he did not. Days passed. Ethan started to see changes. Not big ones, small ones. He read longer without stopping. He finished a test for the first time. He did not panic when he did not know an answer. He tried. Other students noticed. Some laughed. Some whispered. One afternoon, 2 boys walked past while Ethan sat writing with Grace. "Look at him," one said. "The rich kid needs a janitor to help him read." Ethan felt his face burn. He stood up fast. Grace placed her hand gently on his arm. "Sit," she said. "Do not measure deep work with shallow eyes." He sat back down, shaking. Later that night, Ethan checked his phone. A message from his father waited. "They sent me your updated report," Robert wrote. "Last warning." Ethan stared at the message for a long time. He did not reply. That week, his grades improved. Not perfect, but better. Teachers wrote comments instead of warnings. The counselor called him in again, but this time, she looked confused. "You are changing," she said. Ethan nodded. "I know." "Who is helping you?" she asked. Ethan said nothing. At home, things grew colder. His father watched him closely. When Ethan talked about books or ideas, Robert waved it away. "You need results," Robert said. "Not feelings." One night, Ethan told his father about Grace. "She cleans floors," Robert said. "That is her level." "She sees me," Ethan replied. Robert's face hardened. "Stop wasting time." The next day, rumors spread. Students talked about Ethan spending time with the janitor. Some recorded videos. Some shared jokes. Ethan saw them and felt sick, but he kept going. Then something unexpected happened. One evening, a girl from his biology class stopped near the back hallway. "I heard you're studying here," she said quietly. "Can I sit?" Grace looked at Ethan. "It's fine," Ethan said. They sat together. Then another student came. Then another. Soon, the empty old library became full of quiet voices. They read, they wrote, they talked. Grace guided them, calm and firm. But attention brings trouble. One afternoon, Grace was called to the office. When she returned, her face was calm, but her hands shook. "They want me to stop," she said. Ethan stood up. "Why?" "They say it's not my job," she replied. "They can't do that," Ethan said. "They can," Grace answered. "And they will." Ethan felt panic rise. "I'll tell my dad." Grace shook her head. "Not yet. Your voice must stand alone." The next morning, Grace did not show up. Her bucket was gone. Her radio was silent. Ethan searched the halls. Nothing. A teacher told him quietly she was let go. Ethan felt something break inside him. He sat alone in the empty library, holding the notebook. The words inside felt heavier now. He did not know what would happen next. He only knew that whatever was coming, it would hurt. And this time, there was no one to clean the mess. The days after Grace was gone felt empty. Ethan still came to school early, but there was no one waiting for him. The halls felt colder, even when they were full of people. He carried his notebook everywhere, but he did not open it. The words inside felt heavy, like they belonged to a time that had already ended. In class, teachers noticed the change. Ethan stared at his desk. When questions were asked, he stayed quiet. His grades slipped again, not because he did not understand, but because he felt tired inside. The old library stayed locked. The small group of students who once met there stopped coming. Whatever had started there had been pushed back into silence. At home, his father said nothing. Robert watched Ethan like someone watching a stranger. One evening, Ethan came home soaked from rain, holding a paper in his hand. A red letter stood at the top of the page. A. The first one he had earned all year. "Dad," Ethan said softly, "I want to show you something." Robert took the paper, read it quickly, then frowned. "This is writing about feelings," he said. "This is not serious work." "It matters to me," Ethan replied. Robert placed the paper on the table. "Who taught you this?" Ethan took a breath. "Grace did." Robert's face tightened. "That woman is gone. I warned you." "She helped me," Ethan said. "She saved me." Robert's voice dropped. "If you keep following her ideas, you lose everything. The money, the house, the name." Ethan felt his hands shake, but he did not step back. "Maybe I need to lose it," he said. Robert turned away. "Pack your things," he said. "You are done." That night, Ethan sat on his bed with his notebook. He did not cry. He felt calm, the kind of calm that comes before a storm. He opened a new page and wrote until his hand hurt. He wrote about grace. He wrote about fear. He wrote about seeing people for the first time. A few days later, a notice appeared on the school board. Senior speech contest. Topic: what it means to win in life. Ethan stared at the paper for a long time. That night, he wrote again. The auditorium was full the evening of the contest. Parents filled the seats. Teachers stood at the back. Students whispered. Ethan stood behind the curtain, holding his notebook. He wore plain clothes. No brand names. No signs of wealth. When his name was called, he stepped forward. "My name is Ethan Miller," he began. "People say I had everything. Money, comfort, chances. But I was empty. I failed not because I was lazy, but because I was scared." The room stayed quiet. "There was a woman at this school," he continued. "She cleaned the floors. Most people never learned her name, but she saw me when no one else did." Some faces shifted. "She taught me how to think, how to listen, how to learn, not for grades, but for truth. And when she was taken away, I learned something else. Systems fear change when it comes from the bottom." Ethan held up the notebook. "Winning in life is not about power. It is about becoming someone who can see others." Applause began slowly, then grew louder. At the back of the room, a woman stood quietly. Grace Thompson. Ethan saw her. Their eyes met. She nodded once. The video spread quickly. People shared it online. News picked it up. Questions were asked. Grace was invited to speak. Schools called her. Doors opened again. Ethan finished school. He chose a small college in New York, one focused on education and service. When asked why, he answered simply, "Because learning should change you." Months later, Ethan knocked on a small apartment door. Grace opened it, surprised. "I want to build something," Ethan said. "A place where people learn like you taught me." Grace looked at him for a long moment, then smiled. Together, they opened a learning center. A simple place. Tables, books, notebooks. Students came. They stayed. They learned. One evening, Ethan stood beside Grace as a child handed her a notebook. "This place made me feel smart," the child said. Grace held the notebook close. Ethan felt his chest tighten, not with fear, but with meaning. And for the first time in his life, Ethan knew he was winning. Ethan did not win because he was rich. He won because he learned how to see people the world walks past every day. Someone saw him when he was broken. Someone with no title, no office, no power, just truth and courage. And maybe, right now, someone is walking past you, or maybe you are the one no one sees. If this story touched you, if it made you feel something deep inside, please subscribe to this channel, because more real stories like this are coming. Now tell me something in the comments. Where are you watching from? And let your voice be heard. 3 questions for you. 1. If you were Ethan, would you have listened to her or walked away like everyone else? 2. Who was the one person in your life that believed in you when others gave up? 3. Do you think real success comes from money or from becoming someone better? Write your answers below. Your words matter more than you think. And remember, sometimes the person who changes your life is the one the world never looks at.